Everyone thought it would be another political ambush. Robert Darrow came to humiliate Pam Bondi live on national TV. But what no one expected was that she came armed not with anger, but with facts. And within minutes, the whole room changed. No one expected the moment to come from her. Not tonight. Not on a stage where the odds were stacked, the crowd leaned, and the cameras were ready to catch her stumble. Pam Bondi had been invited to a live primetime debate with Robert Darrow, a celebrated actor-turned-political firebrand. Most assumed it would be a brutal ambush disguised as a panel. What no one counted on was that Bondi didn't come to survive the fire. She came to walk through it holding a match of her own. The broadcast opened with polished spectacle. Bright lights, thunderous applause, and a smirking Darrow sinking comfortably into his chair. He wore that signature Hollywood confidence like a tailored suit, measured arrogance softened by charm. Across from him, Bondi sat composed in a bold magenta jacket, back straight, eyes calm. She looked not like a guest, but like someone who had read every headline before it was printed. Tonight, the host declared dramatically, "We ask, has American democracy become a performance? And if so, who's writing the script?" Cameras panned between the two figures. One an actor playing outrage, the other a prosecutor who'd once put cartel bosses behind bars. The contrast was deliberate, but misleading. Because this wouldn't be theater. It would be a reckoning. Darrow struck first. He didn't waste time with subtlety. "Pam," he said with a smirk, "you're not here to defend America. You're here to defend a disgraced reality show host. You don't serve the people, you serve the brand." The audience erupted. Laughter. Applause. Cheers. But Bondi didn't flinch. She didn't grab for her mic. She didn't rush to reply. Instead, she studied him, like a seasoned attorney studies a witness who just opened the wrong door. "You know what's interesting, Robert?" she said finally, voice steady. "You once said Barack Obama deserved the benefit of the doubt, despite record-level deportations, drone strikes, and surveillance programs. But somehow, when it's Trump, every policy is a catastrophe. Either your memory's selective, or your outrage is." The room hushed. The applause stalled. Darrow blinked, caught between smugness and surprise. The host leaned forward, sensing the shift. "Don't twist this," Darrow scoffed. "Obama had class. Trump is chaos. And you're just repeating talking points from Fox News." Bondi leaned in, tone sharpening. "Robert, I spent 2 decades prosecuting organized crime. I've argued in courtrooms where the stakes were real, life, death, justice. I don't take my cues from cable news. I take them from facts." There it was. The first crack in the performance. And the audience felt it. The actor was still delivering lines, but the attorney was delivering evidence. Slowly, carefully, and with the poise of someone who didn't need to raise her voice to raise the stakes. As the first segment wound down, something had shifted in the air. Darrow had come prepared to perform. Bondi had come prepared to expose. She wasn't defending a man, she was challenging a narrative. Not with rage, with receipts. And as the commercial break loomed, one thing became clear. Pam Bondi wasn't playing defense. She was just getting started. Pam Bondi leaned back in her chair, steady and composed, while Robert Darrow pushed forward like a man who thought he was winning. The crowd, which had been laughing just minutes earlier at his jabs, was now watching with a growing sense of tension. Something had shifted. "Pam," Darrow said, trying to regain control, "let's not pretend the Trump administration was some model of constitutional brilliance. Caging kids, eroding environmental protections, promoting division. That's the legacy you're here to defend." Bondi didn't flinch. Her voice cut through his accusations with precision. "You talk about cages, Robert, but let's tell the whole story. Those detention centers? They were built under the Obama administration. The viral images? Taken in 2014. But facts don't trend, do they?" A murmur moved through the audience. Darrow blinked, not expecting a counter grounded in data. The host glanced nervously between them. "And about division," Bondi continued. "How does mocking half the country on national television heal anything? You say Trump divides, but what exactly are you doing right now?" Darrow shifted. "I'm holding people accountable." Bondi tilted her head. "Accountability without consistency is hypocrisy." A hush fell over the studio. The crowd didn't know whether to cheer or gasp. She wasn't just defending, she was redefining the conversation. Darrow leaned in, voice sharper now. "You've got your talking points. That's cute. But it doesn't erase the cruelty." Bondi smiled slightly, not with smugness but with confidence. "No, Robert. What I have is a law degree, 20 years of courtroom experience, and a record of holding criminals accountable. You play tough guys in movies. I face them in real life. The audience reacted, a low ripple of approval, someone whispering, she's not playing. Darrow, visibly irritated now, took a different tack. So let's get real. You defend a president who's been impeached, accused of corruption, and who tweets like a teenager. That's the man you stand beside. I stand beside the Constitution, Bondi said, voice calm but resonant. Not every tweet, not every speech. But the results? Record low unemployment. Criminal justice reform. Stronger borders. You can mock the delivery, but you can't erase the results. Darrow tried to cut in, but Bondi wasn't done. Tell me, Robert, when did disagreement become betrayal? When did a different opinion mean someone should be silenced? The crowd was quiet now, truly listening. Even those who had cheered Darrow's earlier jabs sat with arms folded, considering the points. You don't argue facts, she added. You attack character. That's not debate. That's performance. The host stepped in, clearly trying to lower the temperature. Let's shift the focus. Pam, Robert, what do you each believe is the greatest threat to America today? Double standards, Bondi replied immediately. We live in a time when asking a question can get you canceled, but screaming slogans gets you praised. When integrity is measured by applause, not action. That's dangerous. And just like that, the debate shifted again. She wasn't just defending Trump. She was holding up a mirror to everyone in the room. Darrow sat back, jaw tight. His usual dominance wasn't working. The next round would be different. The studio lights felt hotter now, not because of the cameras, but because something undeniable had taken hold of the room. Robert Darrow was visibly rattled. The air that once hummed with laughter now pressed with weight. And Pam Bondi? She wasn't flustered. She was sharpening. Darrow, trying to gather himself, leaned forward again. You keep tossing around numbers and anecdotes, Pam, but you're dodging the bigger point. Trump's presidency left scars. You defend power because you had it. Bondi didn't even blink. No, Robert. I defend truth because someone has to. There was no smugness, no performance. Just quiet resolve, the kind that doesn't need volume to make its point. You want to talk about scars? She asked. Let's talk about the families who lost loved ones to drugs pouring across a border politicians were too scared to secure. Let's talk about parents who finally got their kids into better schools because of school choice programs you once mocked. Darrow opened his mouth, but she held up a hand. You call that cruelty. I call it progress. She turned to the audience. You've seen the game before. The smirks. The rehearsed outrage. The gotcha lines designed to trend instead of teach. But here's the thing, performance doesn't pay bills. Performance doesn't protect families. Policy does. The audience, once leaning toward Darrow, was now stone silent. Not out of boredom, out of respect. Then, just when it felt like she might ease up, Bondi leaned forward again. You know what's funny, Robert? She asked, voice cool. You accuse me of parroting talking points, but I've sat with real people. Mothers burying sons, officers' widows, kids afraid to walk to school. And do you know what they ask me? She paused. They ask why no one's listening to them. She looked directly into the camera. I came here tonight to tell them. I am. Darrow shook his head, scoffing. Oh, come on, you're milking the moment. You came with rehearsed lines and a chip on your shoulder. No, Bondi replied softly. I came with receipts. She reached into her folder and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The host straightened in his seat. What's that? Darrow asked. It's a copy of your open letter from 2010, Bondi said, where you praised law enforcement reforms and border protections under President Obama. You said, and I quote, America can't afford to play politics with safety. The screen behind them lit up. The quote appeared, verified. The audience gasped. The silence deepened. Darrow sat frozen. Bondi continued, her tone steady. People evolve, Robert. But erasing your past to seem relevant now, that's not evolution. That's reinvention at the cost of truth. The host tried to break the tension. Okay, weave. But the audience interrupted, not with applause but with the kind of silence that says, we're watching something real. Finally, Darrow stood. No mic drop. No final punchline. Just the slow realization that he had been outmatched not with volume, but with calm, with clarity, and with something rarely seen on television anymore, conviction. He muttered something under his breath, pulled off his mic, and walked off stage. Bondi watched him go. She didn't celebrate. She simply said, guess we just saw who was performing after all. The show went viral within minutes. But for those who witnessed it live, it wasn't the walk-off that stayed with them. It was the woman who never needed to raise her voice to make the country listen.